Dan Trudeau here. I'm the VP and Executive Recruiter at PRA USA, and today I want to talk to you about H1B visas. Now, it seems that no aspect of American immigration policy is without controversy these days, and the H1B is no exception. The debate is raging around the idea that companies are replacing American workers with H1B holders who represent, less expensive foreign labor. There are a lot of organizations and politicians that are pushing back hard on H1Bs right now. Now, the H-1B visa was created specifically for STEM fields, including engineering, IT, medicine, etc. And they give out 65,000 new H-1Bs every year, with an extra 20,000 for people with advanced degrees. Now, this sounds like a huge number, but every year they hit that limit within days of opening things up in April, which means tens of thousands more applicants are not getting their H-1B visas. Now, I've been recruiting now for 20 plus years. My agency has been in business for 30 years, and in that time, we've worked with a lot of immigrating engineers, the vast majority of which hold H-1B visas. We know the real life stories behind the people who hold these visas. And what we've seen is too much of this debate is centered around a lot of misinformation and misconceptions. And what I'm going to talk to you about today are 3 H-1B myths that are not only creating policies that are unfair to the people who hold these visas, but they're also harmful to the overall American economy. The first myth is that H-1B workers are all temporary. This is a big issue I have with a lot of the articles written on this subject, because they give the impression that H-1B workers are just here to work for a handful of years. Now, this might be the case for some of them, but the vast majority of the ones we work with are on their path to U.S. citizenship. In fact, there's around 1 million current H-1B holders who have been approved for and are waiting for their green cards. This mistake's understandable, though, because the H-1B program was created as a temporary worker program. The idea is here they'd be working here for 5 to 6 years before returning home. So what's happened in the meantime? Once upon a time, if you were born in another country and you wanted to come to the U.S. to be an engineer or a doctor or something like that, you'd come here, you'd go to school here, and after you got your degree, you'd get an F1 visa under the Optional Practical Training, or OPT program. That allowed you to work here while applying for and receiving your green card. The issue is this. The OPT program goes 3 years at the most. In the meantime, it's taking most H-1B professionals 10 plus years to get their green card. So what do you do when the OPT period runs out? You get an H-1B visa. So these STEM professionals are using the H-1B to get their green cards to become Americans. That makes them the opposite of temporary. In fact, without the H-1B or a similar program, the world's top scientists, engineers, IT innovators, doctors would not be able to immigrate to the United States. And this is a big deal because there is a current global competition for talent. If we don't have a path for them to come here and remain here to become Americans, then all those ideas, all those innovations, they leave, they go somewhere else. So the next great IT breakthrough or piece of electronic technology or vaccine is going to be developed somewhere other than the United States. The second myth is that H-1B holders are hurting American jobs. Now, this myth circulates around the idea that foreign-born H-1B holders are pushing American tech workers out of their positions and driving down their salaries. The numbers would suggest otherwise. Coming into this year, the unemployment rate for engineers was 2.3%. Since this crisis started, that's gone up to 4.7%. So even with this catastrophic crisis going on right now, engineering still has a very healthy unemployment rate. That means American engineers still have a lot of career options and aren't being pushed in mass into unemployment. Not only that, in the past year, salaries for those same people have gone up 2.5%, and those salaries are up a whopping 17.6% since 2006. Now, we've seen this play out in our day-to-day work. Uh, it's never been more difficult for us to find talented engineers for high-tech positions. Again, even with H1B holders in that mix. Positions that we used to be able to get 10 candidates for easy, we now have to work very hard just to get 2 or 3. Not only that, after the last recession about 10 years ago, entry-level engineers in our field were making a starting salary of around, $54,000-$55,000 a year. In the 10 years since, that's up to $65,000 to $70,000 a year. It's not bad for your first job out of school. The third myth is that H1B workers are less expensive. Now, in some cases, this is true, especially related to consulting firms, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. On average, however, H1B workers make 2.8% more than their American counterparts. Now, you add into that the cost of sponsoring their visa and supporting their green card process, and you'll see that H1B holders are actually a more expensive prospect for employers than America's residents or citizens. That they would not be increasing those employment costs if they didn't have to. Now, speaking of the consulting firms, which frankly are the number one exploiters of these programs, the pushback against immigration actually helps them too. You see, when an employer needs to get work done and they can't bring the people in to work on it internally, and we've seen this with several of our clients, where they have this need to get a project done, but they can't find the right person because, again, it's a candidate short market, and in many cases, they've got the right candidate, but visa problems keep them from bringing in. That work's still got to get done. So what do? They outsource the work to one of these consulting companies, or even worse, an offshore consulting company. So once again, pushing it back against these engineers, against these immigrating engineers, actually helps those who are exploiting the program, and again, pushes the critical work that we want done here overseas. It just doesn't make sense. The reality is clear. H1B visa holders, or the vast majority of them, are not temporary, they're not undercutting the American job market, and they're not driving down American salaries. As my partner Jim Petiprin noted in his recent video, they've been going to our schools and they have skills that are fundamental to our economic future. The United States simply is not graduating enough STEM people to keep up with market demand. In fact, last year, we were only able to fill about half of our open tech positions in this country because of a lack of candidates. And the current crisis hasn't put a dent in that. The ongoing global competition for talent has given us a stark choice. We either pull in the best STEM talent from all over the world, or we push them out and they take the innovation with them. People are clinging to outdated notions that are hurtful not just to the legal immigrants working their way through the system, but also to our collective economic future. We could solve a huge part of this tomorrow by simply extending the OPT program until the people within it get their green cards. That's how it was originally meant to work. You take them out of the H1B program tomorrow, saving a lot of cost and taking a lot of risk out of the process for both those candidates and the companies trying to employ them. Not only that, we need to send a message to the world that the United States is still the place to come to if you want to build a tech career. We have to tell them that we're still open for business and welcome them with open arms. It's the American way. For more insights on technology, careers, and markets, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the PRA USA channel. As you can tell from this video, we're going to be tackling the big questions of the day and offering you guidance to have a very successful tech career. Put our 30 plus years of experience to work for you.